and welcome to another edition of Kaleidoscope on Channels Television. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. I'm Anne Nwawadu. On Kaleidoscope today, we speak with the Dean, School of Eloquence, Ubong Essien, on the activities of the institution and its corporate social responsibility drive. Once again, welcome to the program. The School of Eloquence is the premier public speaking and presentation skills training school for business executives, policymakers, and of course, professionals. Let's tell you more.
Established in July 2006, the School of Eloquence prides itself as the home of public speaking, teaching people from all walks of life the important skill of effective and powerful oral communication before audiences. Founded by West Africa's only certified speaking professional and the Dean of the school, Ubong Essien, the School of Eloquence has helped over 7,000 leaders and professionals find their voice and become powerful and effective public speakers in their respective domains. The scope of the institution's alumni work is indeed universal, impacting the younger generation and reflecting the mantra and the mission of the school, which is teaching the world to speak through a comprehensive and practical course curriculum and body work in the subject of public speaking.
We now hear from the Dean, School of Eloquence, Mr. Ubong Essien.
The School of Eloquence began this journey back in 2006. Let's begin with what inspired this in the first place.
Interestingly, I always tell people that School of Eloquence was what you might actually call a child of circumstances, because in 2006 I was in Abuja consulting for the Federal Roads Maintenance Agency, FEMA. The agency had brought me in to lead organizational change. The CEO felt I have started from the old Ministry of Works and I need a motivationalist to really help change their mindset. So FEMA embedded me as a consultant for 6 months in Abuja. We signed the contract. I lived in Abuja. I was working. 1 month into the contract, Engineer Peters, who was the MD, then said to me, Ubong, I'm sorry, there is one more problem, but we might not pay you for it. And nobody likes to hear that. And he said, I go out every time to deliver speeches on behalf of FEMA. Most of my general managers and top echelon staff struggle with public speaking. I am tired. I cannot cope fully with all of this. Can you, as a professional speaker, make out time? We won't pay you because we've signed the contract. Make out time to help coach them, help them develop this rare skill at that time. And I said, I could do it. I said, sure, we'll do, but it would have to be on Saturdays. I already lived in Abuja, so I had the Saturdays to spare. That was how I started just coaching them, working with them. This was June 2006. Then, in the course of that, it dawned on me, if this was a problem in FEMA, it probably was a problem elsewhere. That was how the idea came. I said, well, Ubong, why don't you establish a school focused on teaching the art of public speaking? That's what gave birth to the School of Eloquence. And then thereafter, we struggled to watch legislators battling to confirm ministerial nominees. And you know, most of the response was always, okay, take a bow and go. There was a lot of struggle among senators then to articulate or to even ask questions. So I said to my staff, write all the senators. Tell them we have a solution to this problem. And we were shocked, pleasantly so, that they began to respond. Inviting me to the National Assembly, 3-4 senators would say, look, come in, spend 3 days with us. And so between 2006 and 2007 with the senators, the School of Eloquence evolved. But School of Eloquence was set up officially in 2006. But the rocket fuel that really pushed it out there was when the legislators began to respond that they needed to be worked on to improve their communication skills, because without good public speaking skills, you cannot legislate effectively, not in today's world. That, in a summary, was how School of Eloquence began.
So let's talk about the impact. I mean, apart from helping people, I know you make money from that, but what else do you do in helping other people where you do not make money? All you do is impact society with this skill.
Well, because this skill has caused a lot of pain in the lives of people. As you know, at the school, most of our students or clients are adults, professionals, royalties, dignitaries, you name them. And after learning the skill, they look at themselves and say, wow, I wish I had learned this when I was much younger. I probably would not be in the mess or the problem that I now have to deal with. And so you find a number of them signing up their children to learn public speaking skills. In fact, we have parents whose children are schooled abroad. Returning to the country, they send them to the School of Eloquence. They said, look, you're going to have to face interviews. Your career can start on a bright and strong note if you are able to speak boldly, confidently about all that you have learned. That began for us some kind of epiphany to say, look, what can we do? That was how we developed the Catching Them Young program. We started that program in 2015. And the concept was very simple. Take public speaking education to secondary schools. Teach them early. Let them understand its importance and then grow with it. And our principle was very clear, built on 3 major strategies. Strategy number 1, we called it engagement. Public schools, who cannot afford to pay for our services. It's our opportunity to give back to the society. Senior secondary schools. So, beginning from where we were back then, in Maryland, in Lagos, we started working with a number of secondary schools. And then we moved on to schools. So we're talking about schools around the entire Ikeja area. So we began with King's College and Queen's College. You know, those are the 2 most iconic institutions when it comes to secondary education in public sphere in the country. Then within our immediate environment, we began to work with Ojota Grammar School, Dairy Farm School in Agege. We also had Okpebi High School. And gradually, we extended to schools like CMS Grammar School. We had St. Greg's. We had Kuramo here on the island. On moving to Ikoyi, we've begun to also impart that knowledge to public secondary schools who cannot afford to pay for such learning, to ensure that at an early stage, they can learn the art of public speaking. So how do we do that? I said our first strategy is engagement. So our alumni members of the school go out to these schools and say, we have learned as adults how important public speaking is. And we are coming to you as evangelists to say, look, don't make a mistake of not knowing the importance of public speaking. We discovered late as adults and we paid dearly for it. Start young. So we are coming to catch you young by teaching you these things. So to join the team, we teach public speaking at that engagement level, which is our first strategy. Then our next strategy is what we call the escalation strategy. We've worked with the schools. How do we ensure that what we have taught them is taken seriously? We escalated that by creating what we call the Eloquence Cup competition. So if we've come to your school to teach you the art of public speaking, we expect you to send at least 2 to 3 contestants each year to the Eloquence Cup competition. That way they begin to see that it's serious because there are prizes to be won. Cash prizes, other kinds of prizes like computers, laptops, and all of that. That deals with the second stage. Now, our third strategy, which is where we now want to lay emphasis, is what we now call the entrenchment strategy. To say, how do we establish this? We have engaged. We have also moved into escalating. Now, let's entrench. This is when we are looking at, or this is when we begin to engage with the Lagos State government to say, can you allow us to establish eloquence clubs in these secondary schools. We already have the Eloquence Club at the School of Eloquence level. We have one in Lagos, we have one in Abuja, but the membership is made up of alums of the school. So you have business leaders, you have politicians, you have professionals in sales, marketing, you have celebrities, royalties. It's a mixed bag of people who have moved on and up in life. They come every month to practice their public speaking skills. So at that level for adults, adults want to just survive and avoid the embarrassment. But for the schools, much younger level, we're saying this skill can be entrenched. And so we're working towards getting the necessary support to say, all right, we can have eloquence clubs in these schools. And our alumni network is strong enough to support those students because we now have what we call an adopt a school strategy. So alumni members have schools they've adopted. They work to prepare them for the competition because they want their schools to win. I can give you a very recent instance. The last Eloquence Cup competition was won by CMS Grammar School. And one of our alums happens to be a graduate from CMS Grammar School. CMS is alma mater. So it was very, very exciting for him that, hey, I brought my school to the table, encouraged them to take on eloquence, and here we are, champions. And that was very, very illuminating. So other alumni members are excited, saying, look, can we bring our schools? Can we just go back? It's a way of individually giving back. So you can see the cascading effects of the CSR impact of what we are doing. Not just for the school, but our alums are now taking on that responsibility to say, we also can bring our schools where we finished from to add this value to them.
So how has your experience been since this began? What's the journey been like? Are there highlights of things you have seen in the course of this journey?
I would tell you that what School of Eloquence has proven to me is that without being able to speak well in public, a significant aspect of your life as a professional, as a politician, as a business owner, regardless of your field, if you are truly aspirational, a significant aspect of your life dies. A significant aspect of your life actually suffers because you will find that you have great ideas. You are brilliant, and there are many brilliant people out there. But when it comes to articulating brilliance, they fail woefully. And when you are unable to articulate excellence that you already have upstairs, you are simply telling the world that you are not that great after all. So for me, 4 things stand out. That public speaking is a skill of necessity. It's an obligatory skill. You can't negotiate it anymore. You must have it. It's also, the second thing that stood out for me is that public speaking is a superior skill. As Winston Churchill said, there is nothing like oratory because it can take a commoner and turn that commoner into a king. There are people today working in organizations, they are not necessarily the top of the range experts, but when it comes to presenting, to speaking about the work, they do it so well that the superiors think more highly of them than those who actually are great at the technicalities of doing the job. So those are 2 major things that I have seen, that it's a must-have skill. It is a superior skill. It's even an eternal skill because it's one skill that can save you throughout your life. Take great men like Dr. Christopher Collade, who's one of my famous, fantastic examples. Dr. Collade moved from public service, a great communicator, joined Cadbury as chief executive, then joined the Lagos Business School, became a diplomat, and look at people like someone like Emeka Anyoku. It's an eternal skill. It's one skill that once you are able to master, it saves you the social embarrassment to begin with, but more importantly, you can use that skill throughout life to make an impact on others and change society. And I will tell you, in my 17-year journey, these are the things that I have learned that have come to me as very, very important as far as communication, especially the emphasis on public speaking is concerned. So think about scenarios where we had legislators. I remember a particular legislator who had struggled for many years. In fact, it became a running embarrassment for him from his own constituency. Whenever there would be caucus meetings, back at home and his name came up, people would ask, are you sure he's there? In fact, at a point, they nicknamed him Honorable, is he there? And he felt embarrassed, felt humiliated. How can they say that? And all of that was because, according to him, I've been in the house for so many years, but I've been unable to even move a motion. I was elected to serve my people, but hey, I've become a bench warmer, or as they say, a backbencher. But by committing to learn how to speak in public, working on the critical skills, how do I structure my thoughts? How do I look at people in the eyes and say what I truly feel and what I truly mean? What are the techniques associated with it? Over a period of weeks into months, you had this Honorable evolve. I remember one morning I was in Lagos and he called me. It was a Tuesday morning, and you remember back then TV stations used to broadcast sittings, plenaries, live. And he said to me, my teacher, oh, good morning. I said, how are you doing, Honorable? He said, I'm fine. He said, please, I hope you're in town. Please turn on your television at 11 a.m. My name is on today's order paper and I am about to move my first motion. Unbelievable. And when the television came on, his name came up, struggled initially a bit, but he held it together and was able to at least move the motion he had been unable to move. Having been elected twice for so many years, he faced his fear, learned how to do it, and put it into use. And that's why we say that public speaking is a learned skill. Nobody is born eloquent. It is a skill that we all learn. We can go on and on and on. Are we talking about chief executives of companies, a number of them that we've had to work with, who were great on the job, great with the numbers, but when it came to standing in front of audiences, before the podium, behind the podium, they would stutter, struggle, mix up their thoughts, mangle their words. But when they were taught this is how to do it, and they were willing to commit to it, they began to overcome the fears, the nervousness, and gradually began their journey towards eloquence. So it's a learned skill.
So let's talk about the importance of public speaking. How would you advise the Nigerian government or the education sector, stakeholders in that sector, to include this regularly in school curriculum? I mean, everything doesn't have to be about theory. You also have to build this confidence in the younger ones and start early, as you said.
Absolutely. The most important skill, after you have acquired every expertise in life, in my view, is the art of public speaking. Because public speaking essentially enables you to sell yourself. How important is it, and what can governments do? It is extremely important that we look at incorporating elements of it into education. I'll also let you know part of what we've done at the School of Eloquence. We set up what we call the Eloquence Institute. And we went out, we said, with our team, let's find out how relevant this skill is scientifically to youth, to young people, before we take the next step, which would be engaging government. We administered questionnaires, talked to teachers, went all out, even with the students. And from our research, we realized that this is such an important skill, that if all a state government, for instance, could do with their education system or their curriculum, is to say, all right, English is a must-learn subject matter. Can we just add 1 or 2 modules about public speaking at that GSS 1 level, and continually GS2 right up to SS2 or 3? It would make a significant difference without doing anything major, without any major alteration. That's one way, and that's part of what we're suggesting. Because having done the research, we have a report ready, we're engaging with various authorities to say this is the way to go. Because in the next 15 to 20 years, those will be the major players on the democratic field. Look at our democracy, most of it, how much of our democracy is as engaging when it comes to debating the issues? We rarely find enough of it. Because most people And that's the point. If you do not know how to articulate your thoughts properly, you will resort to lowballing in the context of a democratic and political exercise. But if you know your ideas and you can speak about those ideas, you will want the microphone, you will want the debates, you will want the town halls, you will want to engage because you want to speak to the issue for people to listen to you and understand what you're talking about. We don't have enough of that presently. But can we begin to build by catching them young? Of course we can, and strategically. All we just need is just that slight iteration of our learning modules. To say, just add a little bit of this. An English teacher properly briefed can take that. So they grow up with that importance of public speaking. They will not have to struggle when they leave university and they go for their job interviews. They will not have to take the back seat when they are amongst their peers. Another way is for universities, for instance, to become very intentional about presentation of seminars. I went to the university. I went to a public university. I never presented any seminar, but I graduated. I never, openly, directly in front of people presented my project to defend it. The best I had was sit around the table, one or two questions posed to me, but a project defense should be you getting up and speaking about your work, how you went about gathering your data and speaking. Now I can understand the pressure being that the population, the sheer size, the sheer volume creates those limitations, but we need to get back in that mode because that's one reason a lot of people leave universities and never truly experience the importance of public speaking until they get their jobs and then they say, look, go out there and make a sales speech, and then the person is looking up and wondering what's going on here. So there are things that can be done that government can do at various levels, and these are some of the suggestions that we're working on. And these are some of the reports that we're engaging with currently.
What are the plans you have for the future? I know the School of Eloquence is 17 years now. Looking forward into the future, what are your plans in terms of business, of course, and in terms of corporate social responsibility and the value you will be adding to society going forward?
So our future plans are very much in tandem with our mission. Our mission simply says that we are teaching the world to speak. And it stems from what I once learned about Xerox. Back in the 80s, 90s, whenever you saw a Xerox ad, they would tell you, Xerox, we taught the world to copy. So at the School of Eloquence, as I always say to my people, that if Xerox taught the world to copy, we are teaching the world to speak. And that's really what makes us different. We actually teach. My view, at heart, I'm a teacher. My background is also in education, even though I studied biology, but with education. So at the heart of what I do is teaching. And our future plan is to extend that. Recently, we've opened our Abuja Center, moving from Lagos, because I know that we took a lot of flack for over 15 years that we must it always be Lagos. Everyone had to travel in from all over the country, and Abuja is the political capital of Nigeria. If democracy must thrive, the players must be articulate. But in terms of future plans, we're also looking at establishing a center in Port Harcourt. Port Harcourt will allow us have that presence because people call in, people travel in from Port Harcourt, from the south part of the country, from the southeast to attend classes. And they're like, why can't we have a presence to cater to the needs of the people in the southern part of the country? We're looking at that. And then, of course, the last piece of the puzzle for us would be a presence in Kano. Because Kano then allows, School of Eloquence Kano then allows us to support the northern part of the Nigerian map in terms of learning and development. Those are the future plans that we have now. We've already taken the first step with Abuja, and we hope to continue to build towards that. So with business aside, we look at what are we doing in terms of corporate social responsibility going forward. The lowest hanging fruit for us right now is in Abuja, because the School of Eloquence now has an Abuja Center, which an alumni network. And once we have our next major event, which is our alumni dinner, part of what we are moving on to do. So can we replicate the successful model as we have done in Lagos, in Abuja, because all of the factors are there. So we've written to the Abuja Basic Education Management Authority to say, give us access to your secondary schools. We have the alumni pool who now know public speaking, who understand its value, and we will visit, beginning with the new session, we would visit, teach them public speaking, distribute the public speaking pocket books. We give them books about public speaking, so there is a retained sense of learning. And then the icing on the cake for Abuja is that Abuja will now have its own version of the Eloquence Cup competition, just like we have in Lagos. Once we're done with Abuja, we intend to replicate the same in Port Harcourt as well as in Kano. Ultimately, we want to have what we call a National Eloquence Cup competition, where from all across the country, secondary school students who have been taught the art of public speaking can come and compete in eloquence, can come and use their talents to speak, to surprise a lot of us, because these young people are very, very brilliant. Once you teach them what to do, they can actually hold audiences spellbound. So that for us is where we are headed in terms of our own corporate social responsibility.
Well, they say if you can speak, then you can influence. And if you can influence, then you can change lives. This is where we draw the curtains on Kaleidoscope for today. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget, keep up with past editions. Go to youtube.com/channelsweb, click on playlist, then scroll to Kaleidoscope and enjoy the rest of the week with it. I'm Anne Nwawodo. Thank you for watching and stay safe.